Good morning, teachers and classmates. Today we are going to talk about Bloom taxonomy, and the team members are Lisbeth Licea, Nicolás Moran, America Sanchez, and Elena Juan. There are 6 levels of cognitive learning according to Bloom taxonomy. Each level is conceptually different. The 6 levels are: remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create.
In 1956, Benjamin Bloom, with his collaborators Max Engelhardt, Edward Fuchs, Walter Hill, and David Caldwell, published a framework for categorizing educational goals that was called Taxonomy of Educational Objectives. Nowadays, we know as Bloom's taxonomy. This taxonomy is represented in a pyramidal model indicating the highest levels are hardened for the students to acquire these educational goals.
The first level is remember. It refers to the ability to recall specific and universal facts. And some verbs that identify in this level are define, describe, identify, match, list, name, memorize, recall, select, and so on.
Understand. It refers to the ability to understand or learn, where the student knows what is being communicated to them and makes use of the materials or ideas presented, constructs meaning from oral, written, and graphic messages through interpreting, exemplifying, classifying, summarizing, inferring, comparing, and explaining. The material requires a process of transfer and generalization, which demands a greater capacity for abstract thinking. Some of the keywords used are discuss, review, express, give examples, generalize, or paraphrase.
Apply. In this level, the learners are able to solve problems in new situations by applying what they have acquired. They are basically supposed to gather their knowledge, facts, techniques, and different rules they have learned to solve different situations, new situations. Some of the verbs used to describe the objectives of application are illustrate, modify, interview, explain, teach, use, and so on.
Analyze is the 4th level of taxonomy of Bloom. At this level, the students use their own judgment to begin analyzing the knowledge they have learned. At this point, they begin understanding the underlying structure to knowledge, and also they are able to distinguish between fact and opinion. For example, if I say Mexicali is one of the hottest cities in our country, that is a fact, obviously. But if I also say, for me, Mexicali is not a good place for living, that is an opinion. So, at this level, my students are going to be able to distinguish between each other. Some verbs to use in this level are compare, distinguish, debate, contrast, analyze, etc.
Evaluate. It is measured through the analysis and synthesis processes. Requires judging the value of materials and methods according to specific purposes. Students Appraiser critiques on a basis of specific standards of criteria. Some of the keywords used are explain, describe, justify, compare, summarize, attach, choose, or interpret. And students will judge the effectiveness of writing objectives using Blossom's taxonomy.
Create. In this level, the learners are able to put elements together to form something new. Here, the students are creative and use their imagination to build something new related with what they have learned. And the objectives of this level, some of the words used to describe are formulate, invent, collaborate, propose, etc.
An activity for the remember level can be a multiple choice question that asks students to identify the correct answer, taking into account what they saw in the last class.
One example could be reading activities, because it allows the student to reflect according to their understanding and point of view.
This is an activity for application using will and want. In this activity, the students need to write about what they will or won't do on Christmas. It can be a text or a sequence of sentences, a list. In this way, they use and practice, they practice the use of will and want.
Well, imagine that you are already a teacher and you want to put in practice the 4 level of taxonomy of Bloom. But you are teaching the modal verbs, so you already taught all the previous knowledge that your students should have before they start to analyze the modal verbs. So you are going to put an activity with this question or maybe another sentence, but with the keywords like distinguish the difference between modal verbs, compare, debate, or what are the difference between the modal verbs. So if your students are able to use the 4 level, they will not have problems explaining to you the difference and debate this topic.
It is very important to develop group activities. Discussions or comments about the class are very helpful and have a positive impact on the students' development.
This is an example of an activity for the level create using the prepositions of place. In this activity, the students in teams create a game in which they show the prepositions of place. For example, in images or something, and then they present it to the rest of the group, so each team can understand the rules of their game and play with each other's games. This kind of activities can help students to activate their creativity and at the same time to remember the prepositions.
And this is all. These are our reference. Thank you for listening.